Hey guys, me Dave. It's still Christmas Eve. I thought I'd do another little video tonight. I was watching some videos and all this stuff. Brian too gave a stern warning to all of us that are trying to understand this technology. I'm talking about real TIs who are in trauma-based mind control. Who are in the trauma-based mind control program. And I totally agree with everything he says. I really do. I think a lot of the stuff. I know it can be simplified and all this stuff, but a lot of it is kind of over our heads and trying to understand all this stuff. I know I feel like that personally. I can understand bits and pieces of it, and I bought Dr. Duncan's book, and I bought Dr. Hall's book and stuff like that. To be honest, I didn't finish watching, or I didn't finish listening to, or I didn't finish reading Dr. Duncan's book. The second book, I can't even think right now. Anyway, the second book of his, I didn't finish reading because it's so hard for me to read because these guys remote or monitor me when I try to read stuff and all that stuff. So it's really hard to read and focus and comprehend what I'm reading because they remote or monitor me and all this stuff. So it's really hard to concentrate and comprehend everything that you're reading, and you got to try to comprehend what he's actually saying and understand what he's saying and stuff like that. It's very difficult. And I appreciate all these videos that people are putting out that really do understand this technology and understand what's going on. I just want to say that some of it is over our heads, no matter how you simplify it, and we really are trying to understand this technology and what they're doing to us, and that's kind of why I try to stick to what they're doing to me when I make videos. I explain what they're doing to me and stuff like that, and I try to stick to that. I'm no expert. I'm far from an expert on this technology. I understand bits and pieces of it and stuff like that. I totally agree with um, with him saying, talking about the conference calls and stuff like that. Um, I personally have been perped on those calls. I don't talk on those calls. I just listen. If I go to those calls, I just listen. I try not to go to those calls too often, but you can tell when they're perps, and you can tell the games that they're playing. And they do. They trigger you for emotional responses and all that stuff. I totally understand that. You know, but but I just want to say that there's so much to learn in this program. My nose itches. My nose itches. Um, but honestly, there's so much to learn in this program, and a lot of it is all over our heads, the average person's head. And we're trying to understand what's going on. It's so difficult because we're getting bits and pieces, and then you hear, even from a lot of the doctors and stuff like that, you hear um, almost uh, conflicting theories of what's going on in this program. So a lot of it is confusing, and I think a lot of us probably are giving out confusing and maybe wrong information, maybe that we shouldn't be giving out. And we are confused. I totally agree with that. We are a little bit confused of what's going on, and how this technology works, and how the data is transferred, and if they're trying to map your brain, if they're trying to bring out emotional responses in you, and that's a pattern, and to, like Brian too says, go into RMN data, if I'm right about that, um, it could be very confusing. Um, I totally agree with trying to stay away from the perps, because there are perps on Facebook, and there are perps on those calls, and they're triggering you for emotional responses. I found that out. I find that out. You know, um, there's been perps on there that have said parts of my life, in talking about my family. You know, saying things that only I would know for emotional responses, and stuff like that. Um, it can be really confusing and overwhelming, because you're dealing with your own targeting and all that stuff, and you're trying to understand what's going on and stuff like that. Um, it can be really confusing, um, to the average person, but we are trying to understand this, and I truly believe we are trying to understand this, technology, um, and it is a learning process and stuff like that. you know I agree that those calls can be very dangerous, and some people blow it off like, oh no, they're legit and all this stuff. But they're not legit. This community is run by the perps. I totally understand that. I can spot out perps, um, from a mile away. Um, I mean, they give a little helpful information, then they but they don't really do anything. I mean, these people have been in this community for 5 or 10 years, and we haven't gotten anywhere. They're not there to help us. I totally understand that. Um, but it is confusing. I apologize if I'm giving out confusing information. If I misunderstood something for you guys. Um, I think there are more ways than one to do what what their goal is. Um, it's really confusing, um, to learn about this technology. Like I say, a lot of it's above our heads for the average person. We're trying to understand, what's going on. They hit us at so many angles. It's meant to confuse you. Your program is meant to confuse you. They don't want you to know what's going on and stuff like that. Um, so it's you know, I'm gonna try to work on that. The last thing I want to do is give you guys confusing information. That's why mostly I try to stick to my own program and what they're doing to me and stuff like that, which I may understand, I may not understand what they're doing to me. Um, I think all of our programs are a little different, and I think they do have different ways of doing your own program and what their goal is. But it's I'm probably making a confusing video right now, and I apologize for that. But there's so many things to learn, and there's so many angles, and like I say, even the doctors have a little different insight on what's going on and stuff like that, and they try to simplify it for us so we can try to understand. Just like Dr. Duncan says, he says they're trying, your brain is like a computer, and they're trying to crash your brain, you know, overload your brain, you know, and try to crash your brain, you know. So there's so much information, there's so much different information out there, there really is, that it's